Hello and welcome to ThePrint. I'm Navneet Oberoi, and today here with me is Mr. Rohan Jaitley, the president of the DDCA. Today we talk about cricket administration and the impact of senior players coming back into their respective domestic sides. So what is the impact that this creates? All of these senior players coming back to the respective domestic sides. Virat came back into the Delhi side, and how does it add to the overall morale of the team?
See, it's exceptionally important when senior players come back and play for their state. That's home for them. We've had Virat Kohli who's playing the present Ranji Trophy game starting tomorrow. We've had Rishabh Pant who played the last game in Saurashtra. It is it's exceptionally important because it not just puts the team's morale up there, but the squad which has a lot of younger players who have not had the opportunity of sharing the dressing room with them in the past. When they play on the sidelines, practice on the sidelines, share a competitive dressing room with senior players who are playing for the national side, there's a lot that they learn, pick, and groom themselves into. So it's not just a morale booster, it's also a lot that they learn by simply sharing the same space.
So the world of cricket administration seems rather attractive from the outside. Can you please take us through what are the roles and responsibilities of a cricket administrator who's the head of cricket board?
See, I can only talk about the roles and responsibilities which pertain to the Delhi and the District Cricket Association. Now, what is DDCA? DDCA is the body which governs and runs cricket within the capital territory of Delhi, not the NCR, only Delhi. Now, BCCI tournament participations, senior teams, senior boys team, under 16, under 19, girls senior, across board cricket which happens through the ages of the DDCA. It governs, it administers, it controls, and it also ensures that a healthy ecosystem is created in Delhi, that a lot of participation happens. Now, you said that it seems like a very, what was the word? An attractive thing of being a cricket administrator. It has its own challenges. What seems very attractive is actually a crown of thorns, to be very honest, because every person who plays cricket wants to be a successful professional cricketer.
Right.
How many players are there in a team? Limited. How many players are there out training to be in that team? A few hundred. It's stiff competition. There are limited spots. There are a larger number of players who are training to come and represent the state at some point of time. So it has its own challenges. It's not about sending teams, it's about creating cricketing infrastructure, creating an ecosystem where how cricket would be managed in the city at various levels, how club cricket would happen, how our premier leagues would be conducted, how premier leagues are executed. Do you realize we as an association do close to 1500 games at a club level in the city every year? 1500 would converge to 3 games a day. So minimum 3 games a day, not
Which are all
more,
happening simultaneously.
which are all happening simultaneously across the city at multiple venues. So it's something that goes on and round the clock, like 365 days. There are no, for our umpires, scorers, for our young club level cricketers, there are no vacations. We are playing 365 days. So it's something that actually leads to a healthy competition, which further culminates into the selection process for representing the state also.
So now that we're talking about the overall ecosystem of cricket in Delhi, we cannot not talk about the time that you joined in. It was a dud that was around, in Delhi cricket. How
See,
did you add to it? What did you change? If you can
see,
take
I
us
would,
through.
I would, I would like to say one thing, that when I came in 2020 for the first time, I think December 2020, the association had gone through its fair shares of ups and downs. I would say, more downs than up, and there was a lot of turmoil, etc. Now, there were a lot of financial outstandings, there were a lot of financial debt, multiple factors, there were multiple issues that we were dealing with. And now, today, we are at a point where we've not just made sure that we're financially more sustainable and in a far stronger place. We are also involved the cricketing infrastructure. We've done serious upgrades before the World Cup. We uh, have slowly and steadily now planning towards another cricket stadium in the city. So there are multiple things that are happening on the infrastructure side. What we've also done is that we've tried to automate the cricket that happens in the city. So we've put under 16 leagues, under 19 leagues. We brought about the Delhi Premier League. We brought about the women's edition of the Delhi Premier League. This year, we are also in the club cricket, we are organizing a women league. So clubs level, women league, for the first time ever that it's going to happen. So these are very interesting new things that we are trying to do about to make sure that cricket evolves and there is an automated process that is in play throughout the year for better governance and administration and participation of the state in tournaments across the country.
So, how does a day in the life of a head of a cricket board look like? I know that you're also a lawyer, but
So for me, my full-time professional commitment is towards my legal practice. So I spend my days in court. I prepare a lot during the day for my matters on the following day. And whatever time I get apart from that is what I spend around my cricketing activities that entail it.
so are you a cricket fan at heart?
Oh, I truly am.
What's your favorite cricket memory?
So there are two. One was actually seeing the Kumble 10 wickets at the Delhi Stadium, and seeing one of the first few World Cup finals that I saw was at the Lord's Cricket Ground. So these are two strong memories that are there with me.
Right. So your late father was also an avid cricket fan. Did any of his love pass on to you, and did it bring you closer to the game of cricket and administration?
So I'll be very honest. We obviously did see a lot of cricket together, whether it be within India or overseas, and from a much younger age, to be very honest. And over the years, it certainly has grown on to me, not because of cricket administration, but more because of the desire to make sure that whatever I have learned over the years goes back into the cricketing ecosystem to make sure that something better can be done than where it was and where it is.
So did he give you any sort of advice that you still live by and always remember in terms of cricket administration or life in general?
See, life in general, a person's morals and ethics are the most important. So, and one should not forget from where they come. So it's very important to know what the roots are.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking about Delhi cricket, and so what do you think is the future for Delhi cricket in terms of, you mentioned that the DDCA is working on building a new stadium. So can you please take us through if there are any technological advancements or any new aspects?
So I'll try and break it down slightly. So we, yes, are depending on technology a lot. We're trying to integrate a lot of technology. We're trying to get player passports in place. We're trying to put all the data out there with the players, so everyone knows. We're trying to use technology on how to counsel players on how to evolve with time. Also is a big part of it. We're also planning on a stadium which will be more futuristic, more spectator driven, facility driven, convenience driven, top notch infrastructure driven. These are still in the plan. We're also planning on something which is interesting, is a high performance center mechanism. So high performance centers are effectively being if, let's say, I'll give an example to explain it. If there are about 50 children who train in a club or an academy or some infrastructure, there are 5 who are exceptionally good. So idea is to, through talent scout structures, identify all those across city, and the likes of the 5 should be in a common training center.
Right.
You might be the best in your class, but we want a class which only has the best in it.
The A graders.
You may call them the A graders, you may call them the ones with a certain set of skills which is beyond, which makes them
The best of
the
the
best
best.
of the best. Exactly.
So if you could tell me more about, the multifaceted responsibilities of a cricket administrator, what must you always, keep in mind? And do you represent the state of Delhi in a way?
Absolutely, because what we do as DDCA is ensuring that the best talent in the city is identified, it gets an opportunity, and they go ahead, and whosoever is of a certain caliber on skill and quality gets an opportunity to represent the state. And intent is that what Delhi used to do for the country 20 years ago should be doing that in the near future. And we slowly and steadily are making headways where we didn't have players make debuts for the Indian team in the last few years. We've had a few debuts in the Indian team. We started winning a few trophies in the domestic season. We started doing much better than where we were placed in the last few years. So we're making the right headway. And this is all being done to make sure that the best talent of the city of Delhi gets an opportunity to move ahead.
So we've also significantly added to breaking the stigma around the Delhi cricket pitch, the pitch at the Rohan Jaitley Stadium, playing very low. And what did you do in terms of, was it a personal ambition that you had that, okay, I need to uplift the overall quality of cricket in Delhi?
No, so about the pitch, we just made sure that we got the best talent in terms of the curator that we have right now, Mr. Datta, on board. And he, over the last few years, has worked quite hard with his whole curators team and his ground staff to ensure that good quality cricket happens around the year. Barring that, there are other facilities that we use across the city, but we've made certain SOPs to make sure that certain thresholds of quality and are maintained across board.
So you also mentioned making cricket in Delhi more financially stable and sustainable. Can you please take us through any financial models that you must have implemented?
So what we've done as one is that we've brought about the Delhi Premier League, which is a franchisee-based league, which has about 6 men's team and 4 women's team. There are about 6 owners in total. They give us, that is one consistent revenue stream that we get independent of whatever the board provides us with. And keeping that stream inflow is very important, because that is one inflow of funds that comes in which is utilized for the welfare of the team. So now we have pensions for former cricketers, we've got insurance schemes, we've got multiple player welfares and former player welfare schemes also in place. So there are a lot of expenses that have to be incurred in a year. It's not just about the team, running of the team, sending players, etc. There's a lot that happens behind the curtains, and it does entail a lot of work.
Right. So what does the future look like for you as a cricket administrator? A BCCI role maybe?
I don't know. That's a call that the general body of the BCCI is supposed to take, and I happen to be the representative of Delhi on that board, on the general body, and that's a decision which the general body will take at a time, whether I am competent enough or not. It's a call which will be taken then.
Right.
I don't know whether there's a role for me or not, but let's see.
So how can cricket become more inclusive in, all of the social economic backgrounds across Delhi?
So what we've done is that there are 113 clubs that the DDCA has, out of which 80 are clubs which do all age group of cricket, from junior 16 up to the senior level. we have now in the last few months encouraged all those clubs to set up training facilities, to get onto the ground and make sure that ground execution happens across the city. Dehors area, Dehors any sort of criteria of identification that you may want to use. Barring that, when we are talking of our high performance centers, we're planning to create about 5 to 7 centers across the city to make sure that players get the best facilities to train who are identified by our talent scout structure. So this is a new thing that we're trying to do. The clubs have been there for decades, but we've now empowered them and requested them to do a lot more on the ground. And the best talent, once identified through those structures, is trained into a system which is not a coaching facility for revenue generation, but a facility where we would want to train the best for 12 months under the best possible coaches and hands available to ensure that you have a consistent inflow of players, not for a season, but for the next few years, is what our thought is. And this would not just be men, it would be women also. So it's across board.
So cricket fans are very keen to know, and there's very less information about it out there in the public domain. What's the process for a state board to apply for international matches, whether it's bilateral or it's ICC tournaments? How does it go by?
So it's a fixture rotation principle. I think I'm not quite certain, but it's a fixture rotation principle which the BCCI does, and there's a rotationary mechanism in which all the states get matches to host on bilaterals. On the ICC events also, I think it's a very similar mechanism that they follow.
Right. So let's just do a couple of quick questions. So how did studying at Cornell impact your worldview in general?
Okay, so what education does is it opens your mind up, right? It gives you skills that you would need in your day-to-day life across board. At Cornell, being a master's student for law, it did the same. It just widens your horizon on what you've learned. So I would say that education overseas only is slightly different. It's much more different than what you see in most education institutions back home, and it just empowers you with a set of skills which makes you think a lot more, is what I would say.
Right. So is there something from litigation that, are there any sort of skills that help you at being better at cricket administration that, come from litigation?
I would see, being a lawyer, having a lawyer's degree always helps, not just in any area specific, but across board. You just become a little more worldly wise when you're working, when you're evaluating things, when you're reviewing anything. Barring that, according to me, a cricket administrator and a lawyer, the two per se intertwining with each other don't really make much of a difference or have much of a role, barring the fact that I might just have the legal department of the association put up a few more extra questions to me because I happen to be a lawyer as well.
So that was our interaction with Mr. Rohan Jaitley. My parting note to you, sir, will be that heavy is the head that wears the crown. Shakespeare said it. And there's also one more thing that I would like to add. Branches full of fruits always bend down. It was a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for giving us your time.